Long ago, before the rivers knew their names and the trees had learned to whisper, there was a war so terrible that the land itself trembled and the sky wept blood-red tears. The elders say it happened in the time when men still spoke the language of the spirits and the spirits still walked freely among men. This war was not fought for gold or cattle or land. It was a war for memory. A war between two ancient tribes, the Omadu, keepers of stories and sacred drums, and the Baratu, masters of silence and shadows. The Omadu believed that to forget was to die twice, so they guarded every tale, every battle, every name. But the Baratu believed that true peace could only come when pain was erased, even if it meant erasing the truth. The Baratu wanted to wipe the memories of war from the world forever. They wanted silence. So they came in the night, cloaked in wind and shadow, and they stole the heart drum of the Omadu, the one that spoke the names of the ancestors. When the Omadu rose the next morning and found the drum gone, they wept. For without it, the stories of their forefathers would fade, and the land would forget who had once walked it. But one boy, Dumani, a mere herder with hair like firelight and a gaze that pierced darkness, refused to forget. That night, as the elders mourned, Dumani crept out with nothing but a broken spear and a rattle made from gourd and bone. He was not chosen. He was not a warrior. But he remembered what his grandmother had told him. When the past is stolen, the future becomes a stranger. Dumani journeyed into the Valley of Murmurs, where the wind tells secrets to the trees. He called on the spirit of the old war, and it answered, not in words, but in a great thunder that cracked the sky. From the shadows rose Zuberi, the forgotten general of the Baratu, cursed to wander the spirit realm for eternity. He had once led the charge that shattered the Omadu villages, but he was betrayed by his own blood and left to rot in memory's shadow. You dare summon me, child? Zuberi roared, his voice like 1,000 spears striking stone. I dare to remember, Dumani said. Intrigued, the spirit offered him a trial. Retrieve the heart drum from the Temple of Silence, deep in the cursed hills of the Baratu, and face whatever truth lies hidden there. For if Dumani failed, he would not only lose his soul but doom his people to eternal forgetting. So Dumani went. He crossed lands no longer on maps, where shadows moved without light and whispers spoke from the trees. He met Namoya, the spirit of forgotten children, who led him through the forest of echoes. He faced the weaver of lies, who tried to feed him false stories wrapped in golden threads. But Dumani remembered his grandmother's voice, and it guided him through. Finally, at the mouth of a cave carved in silence, he found the temple. It was guarded by the 3 keepers of the void, creatures made of smoke with no faces, who attacked with the power of erasure. Every strike they made erased a piece of Dumani's memory, his mother's face, his village's name, the smell of roasted yam at sunset. But still, he fought. When only one memory remained, his grandmother's song, Dumani sang it aloud. And as the last note trembled in the silence, the heart drum began to beat from deep within the temple. Boom, boom, boom. With each beat, memories came flooding back, not just Dumani's, but all the stories lost in the war. The cries of the fallen, the laughter of children, the wisdom of the elders. It all returned in a whirlwind of sound and spirit. The shadows screamed and scattered. The Temple of Silence cracked open like a dry pod, and the heart drum rose into the sky, floating over the land. Its echoes awakened the hills, the rivers, even the stones. Dumani fell to his knees, exhausted but victorious. He had not just recovered a drum, he had restored a people's soul. To this day, when thunder rolls over the savannah at midnight, the elders say it is not thunder, at all, but the heart drum still beating in the sky, reminding all who hear it. When Dumani returned to the village of the Omadu, he was not the same boy who had left. His feet were cracked from journeying across cursed lands, his voice carried the weight of ancient spirits, and his eyes, oh his eyes, gleamed with the fire of the ancestors. The people gathered around him, wide-eyed, as he walked straight to the circle of stones and placed the heart drum in the center. The ground shook softly beneath their feet and a hush fell over the village. Then Dumani lifted his hand and struck the drum. Boom! A gust of wind swept through the village, spinning the leaves into a spiral that danced around them. Boom! The elders fell to their knees, eyes filled with tears as images flickered in the wind. Warriors long dead, children once lost, songs that had no words, until now. Boom! Every man, woman, and child began to remember. Not just their own memories, but the memories of their ancestors. They remembered the Great Flood, the famine, the war, but also the dances under moonlight, the weddings by riverbanks, the laughter that rang from mountaintops. And that night, the Omadu did what they had not done in 100 years. They lit the fire of remembrance. Flames roared high, not red or orange, but blue, the color of truth. Around the fire, they sang, they drummed, they danced with spirits unseen. But the peace did not last. Far in the north, beyond the mountain of hollow eyes, the Baratu Council stirred. They felt the rhythm of the heart drum, and it angered them. For centuries, they had ruled the north through forgetting. Their children did not know the taste of war, but neither did they know the names of their ancestors. They lived in peace, yes, but it was a hollow peace, empty of story, empty of self. The high priestess of the Baratu, Zanira the Veiled, sat beneath the pool of stillness and cast her bones upon the stone floor. The bones danced, rattled, and then stopped, spelling a name not heard in Baratu lands for ages. Dumani. The boy must be silenced, she whispered. So she summoned the Order of the Hollow Mask, ancient assassins who had forgotten even their own faces. They traveled through mist and mountain, bound by shadow to steal the heart drum once more. But Dumani was ready. Guided by visions, he had built the Circle of Memory, a ring of drummers, griots, and truth speakers trained to defend the stories with their lives. They wore cloaks made from the feathers of the black night owl and carried memory stones carved with sacred symbols. When the order came, creeping through fog and silence, the circle stood tall. No blades were drawn, no blood was spilled. Instead, the circle drummed. Rhythms so powerful they shattered illusions. Beats that unmasked the assassins, revealing them to be former Omadu, long lost in war and taken by the Baratu. One assassin, Kalemi, a girl no older than Dumani, fell to her knees and wept. She remembered. She saw her mother's face. She heard her father's laugh. She dropped her blade and joined the circle. One by one, the others followed. The order was broken, not by force, but by truth. Far away, Zanira the Veiled screamed in rage, but her power was fading. The more people remembered, the weaker her silence became. And so it was, that a war once fought in flame and shadow now became a battle of memory and voice. Dumani grew into a man, wise and strong, and the heart drum beat on, every moon, every market day, every burial, every birth. It reminded the people that forgetting may bring peace, but only remembering brings freedom. And in the final chapter, coming next, the veiled priestess herself journeys south to confront Dumani. But when memory and silence collide, who will shape the fate of the world? The wind changed. For 7 nights the birds did not sing. The rivers flowed backward. Children cried in their sleep, dreaming of a face veiled in shadow. Zanira the Veiled was coming. She did not ride. She did not walk. She glided, carried by silence itself. Her feet never touched the earth. Her veil was woven from the hair of forgotten queens, her staff carved from the bones of erased prophets. Wherever she passed, the ground withered, and memory fled. The people of Omadu felt her presence before she arrived. The heart drum stuttered, then fell silent for the first time since Dumani had returned. Elders clutched their chests. Mothers forgot their children's names. The land held its breath. Dumani stood alone at the edge of the village, the circle of memory behind him. He wore a robe made of ancestral cloth, stitched with the names of those who had died in the Forgotten War. Around his neck hung the stone of first memory, glowing faintly. As Zanira approached, the air grew still. No insect buzzed, no tree rustled. Even the fireflies froze in midair. "You are the boy who woke the world," she said, her voice no louder than a whisper, yet it shook the stars above. "I am the son of memory," Dumani replied, "and I remember you, Zanira." She laughed. It was a sound that made the sky blink. "Then you remember pain, betrayal, the endless blood. Why resurrect suffering when forgetting is peace?" Dumani stepped forward, lifting his hand. "Because truth is not suffering, truth is life. Without memory, we are no better than stones beneath your feet." "Then die as a stone," she hissed. She raised her staff and struck the ground. Boom! A shockwave of silence exploded, sweeping through the village. The circle of memory collapsed, clutching their heads. Children screamed and forgot who they were. The heart drum cracked in two, but Dumani stood firm. He closed his eyes and touched the stone of first memory. He whispered a name, Bamaya, his grandfather, then another, Naka, his grandmother. With each name the wind stirred, Tulo, Ajene, Fari. The air grew thick with echoes. Ghostly figures began to appear around him, men and women, warriors and weavers, farmers and firekeepers, ancestors. They stood beside Dumani, eyes glowing with remembrance. They beat invisible drums with hands of smoke and light. Zanira screamed, her veil whipped in the wind. She struck again, but her power was cracking. The ancestors marched forward. "You were once one of us," said a voice from the spirits. Zanira turned, and for a moment she looked like a young girl again, scared, lost, clutching her brother's body during the First War. Her eyes flickered. "I didn't want the world to hurt anymore," she whispered. "And so you silenced it," Dumani said softly. "But pain is not the enemy. Forgetting is." Zanira sank to her knees. Her staff fell. Her veil unraveled into the wind. The silence lifted. The heart drum healed itself, its two halves glowing and fusing once more. A single deep note echoed from it, louder than ever. Boom! And with that, the war truly ended, not in fire, but in forgiveness. Zanira was taken by the ancestors, her soul cleansed and honored. The Baratu and Omadu came together, not as enemies, but as one people. The land healed. New trees grew where the battle once raged. Children were taught both the victories and the failures of their past. And every year on the night of remembrance, the heart drum is played. Not to mow, not to fight, but to remember, so that the shadow of the forgotten war never falls again.